Hi, today I'm talking about director William Desmond Taylor, who died in 1922 at the age of 49. William Desmond Taylor was an Anglo-Irish American director and actor. He was born William Cunningham Dean Tanner on the 26th of April 1872 in Carlow, Ireland. He was one of 5 children of a retired British Army officer, Major Thomas Kearns Dean Tanner of the Carlow Rifles, 8th Battalion, King's Royal Rifle Corps. His mother was Jane O'Brien, who was an Irish socialite. His family home was Evington House in Carlow. His siblings were Dennis, Ellen, known as Nell, Lizzie, known as Daisy, and Oswald. One of his uncles, Charles Kearns Dean Tanner, was in the Irish Parliament. William was educated at Marlborough College in Wiltshire, England. He went off to America in 1890 to work on a ranch in Kansas. His passion for acting ignited again, having acted at school. He moved to New York City. He met actress Ethel May Harrison, who was actually Ethel May Hamilton, the daughter of a rich Wall Street broker. They married in 1901. They had a daughter shortly afterwards who was named Ethel Daisy. One report says he worked for his father-in-law's antique store, and another report says he set up his own antiques business. William had a good life, but apparently he liked drinking alcohol, and he was an unfaithful husband. He then left his wife and child in 1908. She was granted a divorce in 1912. He travelled around the States, working various odd jobs, including mining gold and acting on the stage. His stage name was Cunningham Dean. He eventually found his way into the movie business by working as an extra for Thomas H. Ince at his studio Inceville, and he changed his name to William Desmond Taylor. He acted for the New York Motion Picture Company. His first screen appearance was in The Counterfeiter in 1913. He acted for Videograph Studios, where he starred in the 1914 movie Captain Alvarez, in which he performed horseback stunts. Here is a still from the movie. William acted in over 20 films. He joined Balboa Amusement Producing Company and started his directing career in 1914. He would direct over 50 silent movies in his career. At Balboa he met actress Neva Gerber, who he became engaged to, but the relationship broke up before they married. At American Film Manufacturing Company, he directed the majority of the 30-episode serial The Diamond from the Sky in 1915, which starred Lottie Pickford, sister of Mary Pickford. He switched to Palace Pictures, which became famous Players Lasky, and eventually Paramount Pictures. Here he worked a lot with screenwriter, producer and director Julia Crawford Ivers. In 1917, William joined the Canadian Army and served in World War I. He was stationed in England in 1918, and he also went to France. He rose to the rank of Major. He came back to Hollywood and was made president of the Motion Picture Directors Association for a 3rd time. The first term was in 1917 to 1918, then 1918 until he enlisted in the army, and then from 1921 to 1922. He was at the top of his profession, even directing the top female star of the time, Mary Pickford. In 1919, William directed Anne of Green Gables, starring 17-year-old actress Mary Miles Minter. She was his protégée, and he was guiding her career. He directed her in Judy of Rogues Harbour, Nurse Marjorie, and Jenny Be Good as well. You can see in this photo he autographed it for Mary. William moved into one of the 8 bungalows that made up Alvarado Court in the Westlake area in Los Angeles. They were built in a Spanish style and were white with red tiled roofs. His apartment was number 404B, and the building was on South Alvarado Street. Silent movie actress Edna Purviance lived in the bungalow next door. She starred in Charlie Chaplin's early films. Chaplin kept her on his payroll, and she received a monthly salary until she married. When her husband died, the payments resumed. Each bungalow contained 2 apartments. The complex was built in a U shape around a garden in the centre. It was demolished in the 1950s. Comedy actor Douglas MacLean and his wife Faith lived there too. Mabel Normand was a silent movie actress, screenwriter, director and producer. She was classed as the Queen of Comedy, and she worked a lot with Max Sennett at his Keystone Studios. She starred in films with Charlie Chaplin and Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. She developed a drug problem. Her drug of choice was, because this is YouTube, I'm going to say it was the one beginning with C and rhyming with rain. She became romantically involved with William, and he tried to get her off drugs. In the evening of Wednesday the 1st of February 1922, Mabel visited William at his home. He had purchased 2 books for her, so she had called round to collect them. William walked Mabel to her chauffeur-driven car. As it would be quick, he left his front door open. She left at approximately 7:45 p.m. The neighbours noticed that William's lights were on all night. At about 7 a.m. the following day, Henry Peavy, William's African-American valet and cook, arrived to start his duties. He discovered William's body lying face up on the living room floor. It wasn't a robbery because money and valuables were still in the house. Henry ran into the courtyard of the complex screaming. The neighbours came out and contaminated the crime scene by walking in and out of the home. A doctor showed up and declared William had died from a stomach hemorrhage, then left. It was only when the body was moved that it was clear he had been shot in the back. Word got back to Paramount Pictures. They sent people in to sweep the residence for anything incriminating. They removed bootleg liquor and love letters to William from actresses Mabel Normand and Mary Miles Minter. One of the letters from Mary Miles Minter was on monogrammed paper with her name written inside a butterfly. It read, "Dearest, I love you, I love you, I love you," followed by 9 small kisses and 1 large kiss and exclamation mark, and signed, "Yours always, Mary." Mary's monogrammed pink lingerie was found in a drawer in the bedroom. So there is a whole array of people who are suspects. It could have been an angry drug dealer, as William was trying to keep Mabel away from drugs. It could have been a hired killer on behalf of a drug dealer. William had hired Edward Sands as his secretary, valet and cook. While William was in England in 1921, he forged cheques for over $5,000, stole clothes, jewels and wrecked William's car. He was never caught and vanished before William returned. Later, William received 1 or 2 pawn tickets from him for some of the items he had stolen. He disappeared, and what happened to him is unknown. Henry Peavy was William's gay African-American valet and cook, who he hired after Edward Sands left. He'd been arrested for showing his bits and basically cruising for men. William was due to appear the next day, on the 2nd of February, in court on Henry's behalf. How bizarre that he was shot the night before. Reporter Floribel Muir thought she would be clever. She took Henry to William's grave at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. She had hired 2 men to help her get a confession out of him. At William's grave, one of the men jumped out in a white sheet, pretending to be William's ghost, and said, "I am the ghost of William Desmond. You murdered me. Confess, Peavy." Henry laughed and then swore at them. Why would Henry be the killer if William was going to show up the next day and help him in his court case? Henry moved to San Francisco. In 1931, he died at the age of 49 due to an untreated case of the social disease which begins with S and ends in S. Here is Mary Miles Minter on the cover of Picture Play magazine. William was rumoured to be bisexual and to attend opium dens where men smoked the drug and were intimate with each other. So maybe he was killed because of his gay shenanigans. In 1930, 41-year-old accountant Rosso Ronaldo confessed, saying that he was friends with an actress whom William had argued with. But his wife said that he only knew about the case from reading about it in the papers and that he had mental trauma due to serving in the First World War as a soldier. Harry Fields confessed, saying it was due to William interfering with the drug trafficking, but his wife said he was an opium user and a liar. J.G. Barrett, who was serving in Folsom Prison, confessed, saying he had been acting on behalf of another man, but his testimony was discredited. Faith Cole McLean, wife of actor Douglas McLean, were William's neighbours. Faith said they both heard what they thought was a car backfiring at around 8 p.m. She opened the door and saw the killer leaving William's home. She thought the person looked odd and that it was a woman dressed as a man because of the person's height and build. Small boot prints were found outside William's home, which indicates a woman. Mabel Normand, who was 28 years old at the time, was the last person to see William alive. Henry Peavy, the valet, seemed to think Mabel was the person who fired the gun, but there isn't any evidence to back this up. 2 years later, Mabel's chauffeur, Joe Kelly, shot and wounded an oil broker called Cortland S. Dines using Mabel's gun. It happened at a New Year's Day party at Cortland's house. As Mabel had been involved in both of these scandals, her career was damaged greatly. There is a story that when Mabel was dying from her drug taking and tuberculosis in 1930, at the age of 36, she asked her nurse, "Do you think God is going to let me die and not tell me who killed Bill Taylor?" If this is true, then she clearly wasn't responsible. Then there was 19-year-old blonde, silent movie actress Mary Miles Minter, whose monogrammed lingerie was found in the 49-year-old director's bedroom. The general impression is that they were not romantically involved, as William thought he was too old for her. People seem to think it was a one-sided infatuation on Mary's part. In a 1970 interview with author Charles Higham, Mary explains that she requested her blood to be donated to William as she thought he was still alive. In the interview, she told the funeral director, who she was talking to regarding the blood donation, "You don't understand, this is my mate." She continues, "You don't understand, I have the right, I claim this man, he belongs to me." When the funeral director explained he was dead, she says when she saw his body, she tried to kiss him on the lips. She says in the interview that she was crying and she said, "Oh God, God take me too. God take me now, please." To me it sounds like she clearly was obsessed with him. Her alibi was she was with her mother at the time of his death. Did she shoot him because he wouldn't return her love? Her career was damaged as a result of being involved in the scandal. She was estranged from her mother for a time and even sued her regarding her movie earnings, as she had started out as a child star and her mother handled everything. In 1957 she was married to a real estate developer called Brandon O. Hildebrand until his death in 1965. In 1981, Mary was the victim of a severe beating when there was a burglary at her home. More than $300,000 worth of items were taken. 4 people were involved, including a former living companion. She died from a stroke in Santa Monica in 1984 at the age of 82. Then there is Charlotte Shelby, Mary Miles Minter's mother. Charlotte was apparently a control freak stage mother who controlled Mary's life and enjoyed the fortune she made from her movies. Her alibi was that she was with Mary. It has been said that she disapproved of Mary's infatuation with William, and that actually she was in love with him herself. What was it about this guy? He had no trouble attracting the females. In a 1986 interview, ex-LAPD detective William Cahill, who was 100 years old at the time, explained that he had spoken to William Desmond Taylor before he was killed. He apparently had said something along the lines of, "I don't know what I'm going to do with that woman. I'm having great trouble with her." He was talking about Charlotte Shelby. The ex-detective said that he thought Charlotte was the killer because she was jealous of Mary and that Charlotte was in love with William. When asked if Mary was in love with William, he answered, "Definitely." He also said that the way he was shot indicates that his arms were in an embrace with someone. He was shot at close range and the bullet hole in his jacket and vest were not aligned, so his arm was raised. He also said they were told to shut down the case by the district attorney, Thomas L. Woolwine. Charlotte was friends with Thomas L. Woolwine. The gun that killed William was not found at the scene. Charlotte Shelby owned a .38 caliber revolver with unusual bullets that was similar to the bullet that killed him. She later threw the gun into a Louisiana bayou. She died in 1957 at the age of 79 in Santa Monica. But then, on the 21st of October 1964, in Hollywood, silent film actress Margaret Gibson suffered a heart attack and felt like she was dying. She asked for a priest and confessed to neighbours that she was the person who killed William. The previous night there had been a mention of the unsolved case on the television, and she had said that she had killed him then as well. They did know each other as they had worked together in the movie business. Here they are in the 1914 movie, A Little Madonna. Margaret Gibson also was known as Patricia Palmer. 21 months after William's death, Margaret was arrested for her part in a blackmail and extortion ring. So was she trying to blackmail William, and for reasons unknown, shot him? The William Desmond Taylor scandal was partly responsible for the movie studio's decision to write morality clauses in their contracts. The last movie William directed was The Top of New York, starring May McElvoy. The character name of Norma Desmond in the movie Sunset Boulevard was an amalgamation of Norma from Mabel's last name of Normand and William's middle name. William was placed in a wall crypt number 594 in Corridor C in the Cathedral Mausoleum at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Hollywood, Los Angeles. The nameplate has his real name of William C. Dean Tanner. So who do you think did it? Put your comments down below. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!